all of you are aware that you have to go through the recording before coming to the live class. Fine. So what we're going to do today is we are going to first revise the female reproductive system. So I shared with you two recordings of female reproductive system and the recording on spermatogenesis and structure of sperm. तो पहले हम female reproductive system थोड़ा revise करेंगे. Obviously, I will not sit and again lecture you with the help of the presentation. We are going to see a video and we will revise it briefly. Okay, and then we will revise spermatogenesis and structure of sperm, and then whatever doubts will you have already, you might have noted while you were listening to the recorded video, or the doubt might arise now also, so you can ask as and when we are going through the revision recap. Fine. Uske baad mein I will share with you an exit quiz ka link on female reproductive system and spermatogenesis, so we will attempt that in the latter part of the class. Okay, chalo, let's begin. So first we will begin with the introduction with female reproductive system. Acha, this video we will not see first. First we will see a brief understanding of female reproductive system, and then we will go into a bit detail. Okay, whatever was discussed in the video, in the recorded video, so same with the help of this YouTube video, we will just summarize or revise basically. Okay, so let's just see a shorter video to give you a gist. Those who did not were not able to see the video, तो आज तो आपका काम चल जाएगा, but next week से काम नहीं चलेगा. आपको recorded video देखकर ही आना पड़ेगा, otherwise you will feel blank in the live class. Okay, let me know if you can hear the sound. Okay, let me just share the sound. In the next video, I will not share the sound. Fine. See, beginning, there is a reproductive system here. You can magnify and see. Okay, I'll just pause this. So this is the lungs. All of you can hear me, right? ये lungs है. This is the diaphragm. ये liver है आपका. This is the stomach. Okay. Just give me a second. Yeah. This is the stomach. ये large intestine है. Okay. This is the inner convolutions. You can see this is your small intestine, and here is the female reproductive system. Okay, you can see these are two ovary over here, and this is the muscular bag-like structure, which is the uterus. Sorry, ये दो आपको दिखेंगे. You will see two bag-like pouches. One is this uterus, and you can see one more bag-like structure. This is the urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder. Okay, kidneys you cannot see over here because kidneys are behind. इधर पीछे की तरफ है kidneys. Okay, here behind this. So that is why you can't see kidneys over here. Kidneys are behind, so kidneys will empty the urine over here into the urinary bladder. Fine, and this is the uterus. Okay, you can visualize all of you. Yeah. Uterus. Okay, this is the dome, upper body, which is circular, more or less dome shape. These are the pair of ovaries. Right. This region is the head, main body, and this is the ending end. This is here you will find cervix. Okay, and which opens into the vagina. In the next video, we are going to see the detail. Abhi मैं सिर्फ एक overview, just a brief understanding of the female reproductive system. We are going to see the details of it. These are the fallopian tubes. They are also known as oviduct. Okay, which will carry the egg throughout from the ovaries, and they will bring it into the uterus, this muscular bag-like structure, and they will try to implant over here. This egg will, if fertilized, will become zygote, and the zygote develops into the embryo. The embryo further develops into the baby, okay, the fetus. Okay, So you have a pair of oviduct and you have a pair of ovaries. Okay, these will produce what? Ovaries will produce the female gamete, that's the egg. The egg starts from the time body will release one mature egg under the influence of the hormones. Okay, so your brain under the hypothalamic region, the blood, and it will have आवाज नहीं आ रही है आवाज नहीं आ रही है मेरी बिल्कुल भी नहीं
दी वीडियो चालू थी तब नहीं आ रही थी
okay I'll just play this again what I was saying is when the pair of ovaries the signal to produce egg will be because of the hormone that is sent from the brain. Okay, once the egg is matured, it will be released by the ovary. It will travel, it will go inside this oviduct. Okay, under the influence of certain hormones that you will come to know one by one which hormone is secreted when and all that stuff. This egg will travel all the way to the oviduct over here. Okay, these are the hormones. Okay, ये जो अभी आपको दिख रहा है ना यहाँ से यहाँ जा रहा है. So certain hormones will have an effect on the uterus also to thicken the lining of the endometrium. If you might have gone through the recorded video, you will know what is endometrium. Okay, the egg then travels to in the oviduct. Okay, this video is very general. We are coming to the details of it, so don't worry. This is how the inside female reproductive system will look like. So when the egg is traveling, similarly the uterus is preparing for itself for implantation. मतलब अगर fertilization हो गया, if there is sperm available somewhere over here, then the egg which was released, it will get fertilized. Zygote will be formed. Yes, Sigva, you want to say something? Okay. Okay. So for this implantation, for this zygote to be implanted into this uterus, the lining of the endometrium has to become thick. Okay, so slowly and gradually it will become thick. This is discussed in more detail in the menstrual cycle video, which I will be sharing after this class today, because वो next topic होगा हमारा next week के लिए. Okay. So here is the egg, which will travel all the way over here. If the sperm is available, so it will travel all the way up into the fallopian tube and it will try to fertilize. Okay, once fertilized, zygote will be formed. Yes, and then now the zygote will be implanted into the uterus inside. Okay. If now what did you see in the second scenario? First scenario mein there was sperm available, and after the fertilization, see here the sperm is fertilizing the egg, and after fertilization it becomes something known as zygote and it will come and implant itself into the uterus. ठीक है, तो वो एक one scenario है. Fine. Will get embedded, it will, and from here it will start growing. Now if the egg is released and let's say there is no sperm, Okay, there has been no sperm. So the egg will wait for 1 or 2 days, mostly 72 hours, 48 to 72 hours. Then along with the uterus lining, this egg will degenerate. It will destroy itself and it will form the menstrual fluid. Okay, the blood which will exit the uterus and the vagina. Yes. So along with the egg, the linings will also now become thin because the egg did not fertilize, fertilization did not take place, so no pregnancy will happen. It will exit the vagina. So this is the vagina, this is the cervix. ये cervix है, ये क्या है? Vagina है. ठीक है? Okay. So that is how the menstruation every cycle will happen. Okay, now moving to the detailed version of it. So this is more related to the anatomy.
Basic elements of the female reproductive tract. So what we're looking at
I
here
will
is a
share
lateral
the
view
sound
of
in this
the
case. Let me know
pelvic
if the
viscera.
audio is clear.
So anteriorly we've got the bladder. Behind that, basic element of this tutorial is not to go into huge amounts of detail, but to introduce you to some of the basic elements of the female reproductive tract.
Audio सुनाई दे रहा है? And are you able to understand the audio? If not, I will say. If you can understand the audio, then I will say only in between. What do you want? Captions भी आ रहे हैं. What do you prefer? The original audio of the video, or you want me to say?
The original audio.
Original audio.
So what we're looking at here is a lateral view of the pelvic viscera. So anteriorly.
Acha, this you are seeing from the sideways. Okay, this picture which is there in the video at the moment, this is sideways. So side se kaisa dikhta hai? Urinary bladder, you can see. This is the ureter which is descending down from the kidney. This is the urine bag which is urinary bladder. Uske upar is the uterus. Okay, and then you can see the fallopian tube and the ovaries. This is your intestine, large intestine, the part. Fine. So you can, in females, there are 3 openings. One is the urethral opening, one is the vaginal opening, and this is the anus. This will open into the anus. So the urine will come out from here. The menstrual fluid and the baby will be born from this passage, and the stools, okay, the fecal matter will be passed out from this. So 3 different openings in female reproductive system: separate for urine, separate for stool, and separate for menstrual fluid every month. And the baby will be born if there is a normal birth that is taking place. What is the other option? C-sec. Okay, that is through operation. But if normal birth, vaginal birth, so the baby will come down through this passage. Okay, in males there are only 2 openings. There are only 2 openings, one for the anus opening and the another is the urethral opening, and from the urethra opening only the sperms will come out. Okay, in the previous video, in the earlier discussion, we discussed that in males the penis is the urogenital organ. It will serve dual purpose. Passage of urine also will take place from the penis, and also the semen which will be ejaculated from the penis only. Okay. Any questions up till here? So let's just go through this video and then we'll open for questions. Okay.
We've got the bladder. Behind that we've got the female reproductive system, and then behind that we've got the rectum and the anal canal. So you can see the location of this reproductive system in relation to the bladder and the digestive system behind it. So the main parts that I'm going to talk about are the ovaries, which are the primary female sex organ, and then you've got the fallopian tubes, or the uterine tubes as they're also known, which connect to the uterus, which is this muscular sac, which is where the embryo develops into a fetus, which develops into a baby. And then you've got the vagina, which opens up in the perineum. So if I just rotate the model around, you can have a look from the anterior aspect. So you've got the uterus, which we're looking at here. You can see the superior portion of the uterus, which is known as the fundus. You've got the fallopian tubes, and you've got the ovaries on either side. So I've just switched to this model here of an isolated view of the female anatomy. So you can see these white oval shaped structures which are the ovaries, and as I mentioned before, they're the primary sex organs of the female. So they are responsible for producing the female sex cells, or the egg, or the ovum as it's known. And this ovum is released monthly, and the process of releasing the ovum from the ovary is known as ovulation. So the
In the next video, we will be discussing, the video that I will be sharing for this week, we are going to discuss in detail about the ovulation. So don't worry about the new terms. Focus only on the parts of the reproductive system and what function do they serve. This is what we had covered in the earlier recording. So just summarizing or just revision is taking place, okay?
ovaries are actually suspended in the peritoneal cavity by several ligaments, and I won't talk about these here, but it's important to know that the ovaries are intraperitoneal and they release the egg into the peritoneal cavity. And what happens is that the fallopian tube have these finger-like projections distally, which are known as fimbriae. So you can see these little finger projections coming off the distal end of these tubes, which are known as the uterine tubes, and these fimbriae are responsible for wafting the egg that's released from the ovary into the tube. So the uterine tube has four parts. It's got an infundibulum, an ampulla, an isthmus, and an intrauterine part. So you've got, as I mentioned before, you've got the fimbriae here, and then the wide distal part is known as the infundibulum. And then as we come around, we've got the ampulla, which is the middle and longest part of the uterine tube. And it's the
These words have been discussed in the video, okay, which I already shared with you. So this is nothing new. This region is the infundibulum region, then the ampulla and the isthmus region, okay. Usually the egg, when it is released, and the sperm, the union of the egg and the sperm usually takes place in the ampulla region, okay. So these are just the part of the oviduct, different regions of the oviduct, fine.
the most common site for fertilization of the egg by the male sperm. So that's an important point to remember. And then the medial third of the uterine tube is called the isthmus, and it's the narrowest part of the tube, and it opens up into the uterus. So where the fallopian tube opens up into the uterus is called the intrauterine part. So that makes sense. It's inside the uterus and it opens up into the cavity of the uterus. So the uterus is this sac-like structure, this hollow organ which has thick muscular walls. And as you can see from this lateral view, it lies at this kind of angle to the vagina.
If you are an avid mind mapper, then MindMeister is for you. Create a mind.
So coming back to this model, you can see the bladder sitting anteriorly to it and the uterus is flexed above it. So there are three parts to the uterus. You've got the dome-shaped superior part of the uterus, which is called the fundus. And this part of the uterus lies superiorly to the point where the uterine tubes enter into the uterus. And then you've got the bulk of the uterus, which is known as the body, and this is the main part of the uterus. And then inferiorly you've got the cervix of the uterus. So the cervix is the neck of the uterus. So remember in the vertebrae, you've got the cervical vertebrae, so it just refers to the vertebrae which are in the neck. So cervix means neck. So the neck of the uterus protrudes into the vagina inferiorly. So you've got the fundus, the body, and the cervix. So I've just switched over.
this is the 3 regions of the uterus. Okay, this also has been discussed in the recorded video which was shared with you. The fundus, the body, and the cervix. This region is the fundus, this is the body region of the uterus, and the latter, the ending part is the cervix. Okay, the cervix will open into the vagina. Fine. And in the middle is the cavity of the uterus. So if fertilization and if the implantation takes place, that is if the pregnancy has to take place, so the uterus slowly and steadily expands, and the 9-month period where the baby is developing inside the uterus or the womb, another name for uterus is womb. So this expands and becomes the size of a watermelon. Okay, so this cavity is a muscular hollow structure. Following up till here, all of you are following? Just give me a thumbs up and so that we can quickly move forward. What about others? Okay. Okay. Okay, let's continue.
To a simple cross-section of the uterus, and I just wanted to show you the cervical portion, the cervix of the uterus. So I've outlined it in green, and it's this narrow inferior portion, and where it opens up into the vagina, it's called the external os. So you've got this external opening into the vagina, and where it opens up into the uterine cavity above, it's called the internal os. So I've just come over to this nice cross-sectional model, and what I want to show you here is the way that the dome-shaped cervix protrudes into the vagina. So you can see this protrusion here. So by protruding into the vagina in this way, the cervix creates recesses around it. So anteriorly you've got this recess here, and posteriorly you've got this recess here, where the cervix meets the vaginal wall. So you've got anterior fornix anteriorly, a posterior fornix behind, and you've got 2 lateral fornices.
The recess and the fornix sizes, these are not required at your level, so I'll just skip this part. Okay, this is not required at now this is very important. The perimetrium, myometrium, and endometrium, this we also discussed in the recording. So 3 linings or 3 layers of the uterus. Fine. So it's like outer layer, middle layer, and innermost layer. Perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Outer layer, middle layer, inner layer, like that. Okay, they have their roles. Endometrium we just saw, they will play a very important role in supporting the growth of the baby. So they will thicken, they will prepare the uterus for pregnancy. Okay, and if there is no fertilization, it will thin again, so that monthly cycle will take place. This we are going to see in detail in the menstrual cycle video. Myometrium will bring about contractions required at the time of birth, when the baby is already 9 months developed, and then it has to be delivered. So the middle layer, myometrium, will cause contraction. Also during menstruation, when the female is experiencing menstrual cycle, so some movements or some spasm will also be brought about by myometrium at that time also. So it's not just that only during the birth myometrium will be functional. Also during menstrual cycles, there will be some pain, some spasm in the abdominal cavity. Females might know they will experience some sort of pain and discomfort. That is because of the contraction of the myometrium. Because endometrium is shedding its lining, all the blood vessels is getting breaked off, ruptured, and the blood is coming out of the cervix and the vagina.
This on in red here, and then as you can see from this cross section, you've got a thick middle layer of muscle, and this is smooth muscle, and it's important during labour for this smooth muscle to contract. And then lining the cavity of the uterus, you've got the endometrium. So you've got the endometrium here. The muscle layer, I forgot to mention, is called the myometrium. And then, like I mentioned before, you've got the perimetrium, which is the outer connective tissue covering. So the endometrium, which is the internal mucosal layer, is interesting because it thickens during the menstrual cycle and it disintegrates at the onset of menstruation. So it's under hormonal influence, so it varies in thickness during the menstrual cycle. So the lower part of the female reproductive tract is the vagina, and this is a fibromuscular tube, and as you can see it lies anterior to the rectum and the anal canal, and it lies behind the bladder. So you can see the bladder here and the urethra here. So those are the anatomical relationships. So the vagina runs between the external vaginal orifice up to the cervix, to the external os of the cervix. And this internal end of the vagina is known as the vaginal vault. And just like the uterus, the vagina has three layers. You've got the outer connective tissue layer, the middle muscular layer, and you've got the internal mucosa. So, rotating this model round, you can see that the pelvic cavity is lined by this flat sheet of peritoneum, which is continuous with the peritoneum from the abdominal cavity above. And this peritoneum, which sort of drapes.
Okay, so only that much you needed to know. This is not required because this is pure physiology and pure anatomy. This was a detailed, section of the uterus. Yes, in the next live class, we will be studying more about the ovaries and the changes that will take place in the uterus. But before that, obviously, I will be sharing the recorded videos. ठीक है? तो उसके बाद
Over these pelvic viscera is known as the broad.
So just giving you what was there, the slide which I discussed in the presentation. Fine. So this is the diagrammatic representation. Every name on the slide, every labeling on the slide, you should be knowing. Okay, now, and uska function kya hai? Is there anything that you don't know or you want me to mention it again? This is the time. So take a minute, relax, and just try to recollect everything, absorb everything, and any labeling on the diagram you don't know or thoda confusion hai, wo abhi पूछो मुझसे. ठीक है? 1 मिनट का समय ले लो, रिलैक्स करो, एक बार गो थ्रू करो अच्छे से. Ligament, I don't know whether you might have seen, you might recollect or not. So this is the connective tissue which will keep the uterus and the ovaries in proper position. एक support provide करेगा. So that ligament will do that function. In 11th standard we studied different types of connective tissue. Remember? तो उसमें ligament, tendon, bone is also a type of connective tissue. Blood, तो ligament हमने पढ़ा था, उसका structure भी पढ़ा था. ठीक है? So you have the round ligament over here and you have the broad ligament over here. So both type of connective tissue will help and support this uterus. So at the time of pregnancy, when it is expanding, so to give support and proper shape and structure to the uterus, ये ligament तभी काम करेगा. Making sense? अभी हमने देखा ना uterus कैसा है, एकदम ऐसा straight खड़ा हुआ नहीं है. It is drooping down on the urinary bladder. Yes. Have a look. I'm giving you 30 seconds, a minute, to just recollect. Okay, ये uterine tube है, ये ovary है, इसका main function एक line में ovary का egg बनाना है, ligament का support देना है. This is the uterus. Uterus क्या काम आता है? Okay, the function of the uterus is to support the growth of the embryo, which develops into the fetus. Fetus grows into a baby for 9 months. These are the linings. Okay, endometrium क्या काम आता है? अभी हमने देखा. To recollect all the function. Any word you are not able to recollect, you are finding it difficult, you will ask me now. Okay. So you want me to wait more or you are done? Give me some indication that you don't, you have no doubts in the female reproductive system. Okay. Chalo. Aman is done. What about others? What about others? थोड़ा डिटेलिंग ये डायग्राम में नहीं होगा, ऑब्वियसली सब चीजें एक ही डायग्राम में नहीं होगी, which is the ampular region, the isthmus region, and this is the isthmus region, this is the infundibulum, this is the ampular region, fertilization will take place over here. तो ये सब डिटेल्स भी है. When you will read the textbook, you will get familiar to it. अच्छा पहले है ना, earlier we used to, in board exam they used to ask to draw this diagram, but abhi because you know application based काफी हो गया है, so most of the time they don't ask you to draw this diagram. They just most of the time they will give you a picture and they might ask you to label it, और comprehension type questions पूछ सकते हैं, या फिर जो most commonly asked question है पिछले board exams में जो आ भी चुके हैं, they will tell you to describe the whole female reproductive system, or they might tell you to explain and give a bigger write a short note. So 4 to 5 mark का question आ सकता है ये topic के ऊपर. Okay, in any form or the other, either they will ask you for a big answer, or they will give you a picture, they will tell you to label, और labeling picture होगा, कुछ comprehension type questions होंगे, 5 questions 1 mark के, like that they might ask. Okay. So anyhow, this you have to study this topic, female reproductive system. Female reproductive system. So what do we understand? You have to study the different parts of it, location of the ovary and the uterus, how they are located, आसपास क्या चीजें हैं, and functions of every part. Ovary का function क्या है, uterus का function क्या है, vagina का क्या है, all this stuff. Making sense, guys? Or I'm just talking to the screen? Yes. ठीक है. Okay. See, at one go, this might be too much information. एकदम से बहुत सारा information आ गया, बहुत ही difficult है याद करना. But धीरे-धीरे आप when you will one first time revision, second time revision, third time revision करोगे तो things will become more familiar and more easier. But if you will just be present in the live class and you are not listening to the recording, you're not practicing, you're not writing it, you're not drawing it after class when you are doing your self study, everything is waste. कुछ काम नहीं आएगा. ये लाइव क्लास का 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा भी आपने जो अटेंड किया वो भी वेस्ट हो जाएगा. ओके, एवरीथिंग फिर ये 1-2 महीने के बाद या जब एग्जाम आ रहा है देन यू विल ओपन दिस टॉपिक, एवरीथिंग विल सीम वेरी न्यू टू यू. ओके, सो टू अवॉइड दैट revise on like regular basis. Okay, चलो तो इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं. I am assuming I'm taking time for these topics because these are important topics with respect to board point of view, and they have a big amount of share in the जो marks allocated है ये topics को ज़्यादा है as compared to different topics. As and when we move forward, आगे के chapters छोटे होंगे. First chapter was big. This chapter is also big. The allotment of marks for these chapters is also greater. Okay, so there is no point in rushing. भागने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है हमें. फिर मैंने इस ओवरी का ये भी डिस्कस किया था. Those who have not seen the recorded video, please see the recorded video. I am just displaying the slide over here because this was something which was not discussed in the video. I am not going to explain this again because this was explained in the video. Just keeping it for a minute in case you had any doubt at that time, or if you have any doubt right now, so you will ask me. Okay, this is just a general understanding of the function of ovary and how the ovary from inside it looks like. अंदर से वो कैसा दिखता है, कुछ इस तरीके का दिखता है. These are the developmental stages of the egg. Okay, and so egg is getting produced, and also ovary will produce female hormones, female reproductive hormones. तो वो hormones जो मैंने highlight किया हुआ है. Go through this. Any doubt? आपने तभी नोट डाउन किया था या अभी आपको आ रहा है, you will ask me now. Again, giving you a minute, pausing for a minute, and then we'll open for questions. Okay, any doubts? I hope the time was sufficient for you to recap and catch up. Any questions coming to your mind? हाँ, ठीक है, तो that's it. अच्छा, ये भी चीज मैंने डिस्कस किया था, छोटा से पॉइंट, स्मॉल पॉइंट, दैट अ फीमेल इज born with millions of eggs. ठीक है, तो वो millions of egg retain नहीं रहते हैं. It is not there throughout the lifetime. When the female baby is developing inside the womb only, inside the mother's body only, तो काफी degenerate हो जाते हैं. Natural, this is a natural process. I mean, why the question why I might not be able to answer, this is naturally which is happening inside a female body. Okay, a female baby inside the mother. Okay, तो अप्रोक्सीमेटली जब बच्चा 4-5 महीने का होता है अंदर वूम में, तो कुछ इतने मिलियंस होते हैं. फिर जब वो रेडी होता है डिलीवर होने के लिए, विच इज अराउंड 9 मंथ, तो देखो कितने एग्स कम हो जाते हैं, अपने आप एग्स डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाते हैं, डिजेनरेट हो जाते हैं. अच्छा, फिर एट द बर्थ कुछ 2 मिलियंस एग होते हैं फीमेल बेबी के पास. एंड व्हेन दिस baby develops into a girl, when she reaches at the time of puberty. Puberty is around 14 to 15 years of age. All of you know what is puberty, right? Is there anyone who does not know this term? I have explained this in detail in the video also. Okay, so puberty is when you reach 14 to 15 years of age. मतलब जब आपके body में physical changes significant दिखने लगते हैं. You are moving from a childhood stage to a teenage, or more towards the adult form. So changes happens in your body. Mostly reproductive system ज़्यादा develop होता है at the time of puberty in both males and females. Okay, it's not like puberty सिर्फ females को होती है, males में भी puberty around same age. Okay, plus or minus 2 years depending upon the child. वो टाइम पे भी क्या होता है मालूम है? तो 2 million egg is there in the childhood. Then when she reaches puberty, only few thousand eggs remain. Only few thousands of egg remain. और ये सारे egg then again some of the eggs from these numbers they degenerate. Okay, तो इनमें से एक egg हर महीने after puberty the female will mature, and when if the sperm is there, then fertilization and the whole story will happen. If not, menstrual fluid बनके it will destroy. So this destruction, large scale destruction of these eggs, of these million egg, the term is known as atresia. ठीक है, ये याद रखना. It might just come for fill in the blank or one line. Okay, हाँ, तो ये हमारा हो गया था। फिर मैंने ये वाला वीडियो शेयर किया था जिसमें था आपका मियोटिक डिवीजन ऑफ द स्पर्म सेल्स। अभी आप बोलोगे फीमेल से डायरेक्टली स्पर्मेटोजेनेसिस पे कैसे स्विच हो गए मैम? तो इफ यू विल ओपन योर टेक्स्ट बुक यू विल सी दिस इज द फ्लो। तो हमने मेल रिप्रोडक्टिव सिस्टम डिस्कस किया, स्ट्रक्चर एंड पार्ट्स, okay, then female reproductive system, structure and parts, then again back to male reproductive system, how the male gametes are, just give me a second. Okay, so male हुआ, now again male and female structure, now again male gamete कैसे बनेगा and then female gamete कैसे बनेगा, तो spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So the video which I shared with you in the past week, next video, 2 videos were there. Second video was talking about spermatogenesis. So we'll have a look with the help of video. वो थोड़ा बोलेगा भी video वाला, and then you might have a clear understanding. So these were the slides that I discussed. And then structure of sperm. Let's go through the video and just quickly recap it. Okay, this is a nice video, though little bit written work is there in this video, but I found it very beneficial. So that is why I'm just sharing with you all. 4 minutes, only 4 minutes. All good? Shall we begin?
In this video, we will study about the process of spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis is the production of mature male gametes which are known as sperms.
I'm waiting for your confirmation. Everything is good. Shall we recap this next topic quickly, and then we will do the solving of questions. Okay.
About 200 to 300 million sperms are produced daily in the male gonads known as the testes. Spermatogenesis is the production of mature male gametes which are known as sperms. About 200 to 300 million sperms are produced daily in the male gonads known as the testes. These immature sperms also undergo a process of maturation in the epididymis to form the mature sperms. For a better understanding of this topic, make sure to watch our video on the male reproductive system. As we discuss the anatomy of the testes in the male reproductive system, the testes contains numerous pipe-like structures known as seminiferous tubules. The seminiferous tubules have a central lumen and outer wall. The wall of the seminiferous tubule is the main site for the production of sperms. Now let's look at a closer view of the cross-section of the wall of seminiferous tubule. As we can see, the wall of the seminiferous tubule contains numerous types of cells, and one of them are the primary germ cells. The primary germ cells transform through various stages of development and finally form immature sperms known as.
One thing I want to mention over here, primary germ cells जो होते हैं ना, इनको आप simple terms में mother cells बोल सकते हो या spermatogonia बोल सकते हो. Like, see, whenever gametes has to be formed, so meiotic division होगा, बराबर? Meiotic division से पहले mitotic division होता है. I hope all of you are clear, crystal clear with mitotic and meiotic. If not, you have to be clear. Otherwise, this topic will not be of much benefit for you. You will not understand. So, pehle mitotic division, because the number of primary germ cells is comparatively limited, तो उसका number बढ़ाना होता है. Mother cells का number, mother cell and the parent cell, which will divide and form daughter cell. Okay, तो पहले नंबर बढ़ाने के लिए माइटोटिक डिवीजन होगा. उसके बाद जो गैमीट्स बनना होगा, that is the actual sperm cells, then they will undergo meiotic division. So primary germ cells or the spermatogonia or the mother cell or the parent cell, ये सब interchangeable words है, तो confuse नहीं होना है इसमें, ठीक है?
Spermatids. Now let's talk about the process of spermatogenesis in a bit detail. The process of spermatogenesis is divided into 2 phases. The first is the spermatocytogenesis, in which one germ cell divides into 4 precursor gametes known as spermatids. These spermatids are immature sperms. The second phase is the spermiogenesis, in which no further cell division occurs, but the immature sperms go through the process of maturation and differentiation to form mature sperms. So now let's talk about the series of cell division that occurs in the first phase of spermatogenesis. We start with the primary germ cells known as the primary spermatogonium type A, which are found in the wall of the seminiferous tubules. The main job of primary spermatogonium type A is to divide into two types of cells. The first is the type B primary spermatogonium. The type B spermatogonium auto-reproduce and maintain the number of the primary spermatogonium type A. The first division in the series of spermatogenesis is a mitosis, which gives rise to an intermediate stage known as primary spermatocyte. The primary spermatocyte are diploid cells maintaining the number of chromosomes. In the second division, the primary spermatocyte go through the first phase of the meiosis and divide their chromosomal material into half to give rise to secondary spermatocytes, which are haploid cells. In the last stage, the secondary spermatocytes again go through the process of meiosis II and maintain their chromosomal number. They give rise to 4 immature sperms known as spermatids. Looking at the wall of the seminiferous tubule in the chromosomal number, they give rise to 4 immature sperms known as spermatids.
Okay. Can you just look at this? Yeah. Bigger picture, all of you. Try to summarize and understand this. Any doubt in this? As I told you, फिर इसमें से कुछ आके क्या बनेंगे? Primary spermatocyte. Okay, which will be obviously diploid in condition only. कुछ as parent cells रहेंगे because this process has to take place again and again. Okay, so because the male produces sperm throughout his lifetime, mostly throughout his lifetime, let's say approximately 40 to 50 years of age, 50 years of age, so this process has to be continuous. So some of them will be reserved as primary spermatogonium, like the parent cell, and some of them will go under formation of the sperms, haploid sperms. तो फिर mitosis तो समझ में आ गया आपको. Then meiosis will take place. Simple meiosis में दो parts होते हैं ना, पहले reductional division and then equational division. So 2n से क्या हो गया? n, half the number of chromosome. Primary से secondary हो गया. Fine. And then second type of mitotic division is just equational division. So simply multiply. It's like same as mitosis only. तो आपको मिलेंगे 4 daughter cells. Obviously यहाँ पे daughter cells specific नाम है spermatids. Okay. चलो.
As spermatids. Looking at the wall of the seminiferous tubule in a bit detail, the primary spermatogonium are located in the basal layer of the wall of seminiferous tubule, and in the center you can see the various divisions from primary spermatocyte till the spermatids. During all these cell divisions, the Sertoli cells give support and nutrition to the developing gametes. So now we know that one germ cell gives rise to 4 spermatids. But spermatids are immature sperm cells incapable of fertilization, and they contain numerous cell bodies like Golgi body, centrioles, and mitochondria. The spermatids undergo through the process of spermiogenesis, which is second phase of spermatogenesis, to form mature sperms. The process of spermiogenesis is basically divided into 4 phases, which converts an immature sperm into a mature sperm. The first is the Golgi phase, where the Golgi body present in the spermatid forms the enzymes of the acrosome. The second is the acrosomal phase, where the formed acrosome condenses around the nucleus to form the cap. The third is the tail phase, where the centriole present in the spermatid forms the tail of the sperm. And the last
One thing again I want to mention over here. So 4 daughter cells बन गए, that is 4 spermatids बन गए. अभी वो functional नहीं है. Function means अभी काम के लिए ready नहीं हुए हैं. They will become functional only when they turn into spermatozoa. Spermatids getting turned, getting developed, or getting matured into spermatozoa. So that maturation basically will happen in these phases. Golgi body develop hoga, then acrosomal, the head will develop. Okay, the head which is having the DNA inside it. Acrosome is this head, okay, which is having the DNA and some hydrolytic enzymes. Enzymes क्यों? Because इसको egg को ब्रेक ओपन करना है और अंदर जाना है ना एग में, तो वो सारी चीजों के लिए एक्रोसोम विल बी बेनिफिशियल, आई मीन विल बी हेल्पफुल. That's the function of the acrosome. And then tail has to be formed, has to be matured. Okay, तो ये सारी थोड़ा maturation steps होंगे. इतना डिटेल में आपको नहीं याद रखना है. You just have to know the regions, that is the head, the middle piece and the tail. Okay, so when the tail will also come, when the tail is also present now, matured, fully developed, then this form will now become functional. Functional means ready to fertilize. Okay, now it will have the property of moving, motility, mobility. Spermatids को नहीं होगा, spermatozoa को होगा. तो ये developmental, ये maturation phase होना जरूरी है.
Last is the maturation phase, where the spermatid loses the excess cytoplasm and forms a mature sperm. But the mature sperms are still non-motile. As we know, the process of spermatogenesis runs in the wall of the seminiferous tubule. The mature sperms are then released in the lumen of the seminiferous tubule through a process called spermiation. The sperms then spend a few days in the epididymis and gain motility. The motile sperms are thus capable of fertilization. So this was all about the process of spermatogenesis. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like our channel on YouTube for all the upcoming videos.
Any questions you have? कौन आ रहा है किसका? ठीक है बा. Any questions? All good? भाई आप लोगों को तो रिकॉर्डिंग वीडियो भी देनी पड़ती है, फिर पूरे लाइव क्लास में उसको वापस से री एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है. बट मैं हमेशा बोलती हूँ दैट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड आई विल नॉट इन्वेस्ट सो मच टाइम इन डूइंग इट अगेन. बट अभी चलो, अभी फर्स्ट चैप्टर हुआ, सेकंड चैप्टर हुआ, बट थर्ड चैप्टर से आई विल नॉट डू. थर्ड चैप्टर से हम सिर्फ टेस्ट सॉल्व करेंगे लाइव क्लासेस में, जैसे बाकी सब्जेक्ट्स में होता है आप लोगों के. ओके, ये सारी स्लाइड्स थी which were discussed in the recorded video. Okay, structure of the sperm. फिर मैंने है ना थोड़ा से snapshot भी include किया है. If you want to summarize, you want to read at the end, तो ये सब read कर सकते हो. ये NCERT textbook का है. Flow is very nice. That is why I included NCERT textbook, so that Examul को भी, Examul is here. नहीं, he is from NCERT background, तो उसको भी थोड़ा सा अपना अपना सा लगे. Okay, चलो आज after this class I am giving you recorded videos wherein oogenesis, ovary के अंदर क्या changes होते हैं, ये सब discuss होगा. तो आपके पास next Wednesday तक का time है. You can go through the recordings, but you have to see the recordings before live class. इसलिए मैं 2 ही share कर रही हूँ. Usually 3 होना चाहिए, but I'm just sharing 2. 1 is just a recap video, YouTube video. So total 3 है, but 2 recorded main है जिसमें I have explained all this. Please over here. Can you hear me? Am I audible? तो ये सब मैंने डिस्कस किया है फॉर द नेक्स्ट वीक. तो ये सब आपको अच्छे से पढ़कर आना है. ओवरी का ये डिस्कस किया है, मेंस्ट्रुअल साइकिल डिस्कस किया है मैंने. तो 2 वीडियोस आपके होंगे, अच्छे बड़े होंगे थोड़ा, शायद 15-20 मिनट्स के. Read from the textbook also, see the video also, and then in the next live class we will discuss the doubts. Okay, so give me just 5 minutes. Take a break, थोड़ा relax करो. 5 minutes नहीं, 2 minutes. 5 minutes बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. I am sharing with you all the link, test का link जो अभी हम करेंगे क्लास में. तो hardly it will take 10 minutes. हम 15 minutes पहले ही wind up कर लेंगे class. So it is now 19:11. Just give me 2 minutes. I will share with you the link. Till that time you can just revise from your textbook. Okay. I am sharing the link in next 2 minutes. Fine.